What's up? For those of you that don't know me, my name's Oceana, and I'm sure you can tell what this video is about by the title. We are in a new era. I just turned 30 last month, which honestly I'm super excited about. I'm not even gonna lie. Goodbye to my 20s. Hello, 30s. We are at 30, flirty, and thriving. Anyways, turning 30 and honestly just kind of wrapping up my 20s really had me kind of doing a lot of reflecting and a lot of just kind of like I don't know, just kind of like thinking about like where I've been, where I'm at, where I'm going. I've just had so many transformations throughout my life, throughout my entire adulthood, honestly, but especially like the last few years. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like the last few years I just got like a new passion for life, and I really owe that all to my kid. He's amazing, but I really do owe like my new passion for life and for everything, and just everything to him. But it's really got me thinking, I've done so many transformations, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and like just physically, like I've really been working on like of course working out and stuff like that, but also like watching what I consume. And this doesn't just mean like what I eat and what I drink. I mean that as well, of course, but it even goes as far as to like the type of media I consume, the type of friends and the type of energies I put around myself. And I'm just really being very intentional with like everything that I, consume and everything that I put out also, because, as within, so without, as above, so below, that whole concept. But yeah, so that's physically. And then mentally, I've just been really working on just getting out of like limiting mindsets, and just really holding accountability, being honest with myself and being truthful with myself with what my actions have done to put me in certain places, and the kinds of actions that I want to have moving forward to get me to where I want to go. You know what I mean? And I mean, some of my actions have been great and my decisions have been great, and they, led me to, where I'm at now, which I'm so thankful for. But then I have other actions that, we learned from. There's no regrets at all, but definitely learning experiences for sure. And then just emotionally, I mean, I spent a lot of my 20s really just kind of running from, certain emotions or certain things that I guess that I've been through, and just kind of numbing it out and running from it. And I've really been working intentionally, especially this last like 6 to 12 months. I've been really working on not running from things and feeling things through, working through them in a more healthy way, and then also like, after you feel your emotions and you go through what you need to, releasing it also, and not holding on to like, whatever bad things have happened. And part of that has been, having to have forgiveness, which, is sometimes a roller coaster, because sometimes you think you forgive something and then it comes up later and the emotion comes up and then you kind of have to forgive all over again. But, just really being intentional with not running from, emotions or things that I've been through, and just kind of working through them. So all this together, just kind of working on like the physically, mentally, emotionally, working on all of them, has been really helpful with just like my full transformation that I'm still going through and probably will be going through for the rest of my life. But I've also realized like how important it is to work on like all aspects, because like the balance is so important when you're working on, one aspect. Like let's say you're just working really hard on, I don't know, like working out and this, but if you're not taking care of like your mental and your emotional, like it all kind of starts to crumble and all starts to fall away. So it's important to like take care of all parts of yourself, and that's what I've really been working on, is balance. And not gonna lie, I feel like that's like what this like my lifetime, I feel like one of the biggest lessons that I've had, not just in adulthood but really my entire life, is like balance and not going to like one extreme or the other. And so yeah, I mean, let's just say like for example, like I've always went to like one extreme or the other. So like an example of that is like, I went through times in my life where I've been like super hyper independent, and like, no one can help me and this, that, the other, and I got it, and like, very in my masculine energy, which is not a bad thing. I think that we all need to know how to like, take care of ourselves and be independent and be able to, be all those things. But, sometimes it is nice to also know when you need help and how to ask for help and how to receive help also, and kind of tap into that like more feminine energy. And then, after going through like a lot of my life being hyper independent, I then swayed the other way. And then I had like super codependent tendencies. And I was honestly in denial for a long time about like my codependent tendencies, just because after spending so long in my life in a very hyper independent state, I was like, there's no way me could be like, codependent in any way. And, when I really kind of like sat down and looked at like certain things, I was like, whoa, how did we get here? Like, so really just kind of finding the balance in between the two. Not being too hyper independent, but also not leaning to the codependent side, has been a balance for sure. And then, another example of just like kind of going from like one extreme to the other, like I spent a lot of my life, especially like my younger years, like being like very hot-headed, very super aggressive. And that definitely burned some bridges along the way. And, I definitely did things that I learned from that I don't want to do that way again. But then, as like I got older and I was like, okay, I don't want drama, I want peace. Then I started like going the opposite way, and then I was becoming a people pleaser, and I was letting people walk all over me, and I was like, so honestly just trying to find that balance between like, not just going for someone's throat or like, going crazy right away, but also like knowing when to speak up, how to speak up, kind of being more witty with the way that I, step up for myself or stand up for myself, and, it not always having to be so like, so, it's been a fine balance, and it's honestly something I'm still working on. There's times where like I still kind of act out of like, not aggression, but I guess like, kind of sometimes I guess, but like mainly just like not assuming the worst of people. You know what I mean? Like just kind of giving people the benefit of the doubt, but then also knowing when to set that boundary of like, okay, well, you crossed it, like, here's the boundary, now we're not going to cross it, So I've been really kind of working on like the fine balance of that, and I'm really happy with all the progress I've made, for sure. So it's been a balance. And then like another way that I've just kind of leaned like from one extreme to the other is like I went through like periods of my life where like I'm like super healthy, super on my health shit, not drinking, not doing this, that, the other. And like that's all like great. And then like I don't know why or what happens, but then I go through phases in my life where I'm like the complete opposite, and I'm like self-destructing to the max, and it's like are you okay? No, I'm not. No, I'm just kidding. I'm good. But, and so it's kind of finding that balance of like, it doesn't have to be all one extreme or the other. Like, you can have a drink every once in a while, but, you don't need to like binge drink until you like, can't remember anything, because like what's the fun in that? And I'm not gonna lie, I've had a lot of amazing times in my 20s, but then I've also had a lot of times that I literally cannot remember because your girl just likes to party. And as much as like that was a phase and that was fun, I definitely feel like I've just kind of grown out of that part of my life. I really do like enjoying like remembering things and being like in my like, rightful state. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey. And honestly, through this journey, I've like learned like I used to think that I was like only extroverted like when I like had some like liquid courage, but the truth is like I'm way more friendly, way more fun to be around, and I have like way more energy to like talk to people, get to know people. I have less anxiety now that like I don't drink. Like it's been interesting kind of like learning myself, without like with taking alcohol away. And this is something really new. Like I honestly didn't stop drinking until earlier this year. Like very beginning of this year, I cut it out for a while. Then I kind of dabbled back in with it a bit, and then life kind of smacked me a little bit and was like, yo, you just need to cut this. So we're now not drinking at all, and right now I think that's like the best thing for me. But it would be cool to get to like a balanced place in the future where like I could have a drink and it like be chill. We'll see if we get there. Right now we're just cruising with where we're at, but that balance of like not having to be like totally crazy with it, or, totally crazy with anything. I'm a passionate person. What can I say? But yeah, so really just working on balance has been like super, super, super important for me just in all aspects of my life, whether that's, taking care of all parts of my life, making sure that, yeah, I think you get it. I think I've covered what I'm trying to say there. But yeah, it's just been interesting, and like honestly, like looking back at my 20s, like I remember when I was younger, I thought like when you're in your 20s, like you're gonna have it all figured out, you're gonna get married, you're gonna have kids. I have a kid, but you're gonna buy a house, you're gonna blah 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 blah, and basically like set the roots to be like set in your 30s. So by the time you're in your 30s, you have it all figured out. You're just cruising at that point, and while that may be the truth for some people, I do think most can agree with me that, like, it is not that way, and it, life has lots of twists and turns to, whatever. And honestly, like, that's totally okay. Like, I just want to say that, like, no matter where you're at on your journey, like, everybody is living life at their own pace. Everybody has things that, like, they want, people have different interests, people have different goals, and, like, it doesn't always have to be so cookie cutter for you to be doing it right or for you to be on track or, whatever that means for you, So, yeah, just kind of, like, really taking a step back and like not expecting things to be on a certain timeline or expecting things to go a certain way. Like, and the truth of the matter is like, literally, I'm 30, right? I've been an adult I was gonna quote it, I don't know why. I've been a legal adult for 12 years now. And like, when you think of that, that's really not that long. Like, I know I'm 30 and I've been on this like earth for 30 years, but it's like the first like, 17, 18 years for most people, you're living under like your parents' guidelines, your parents' rules, and like you don't really like fully have the like authority to kind of just do things the way you want and like really figure yourself out. So like the amount of time I've actually had to like figure this stuff out, figure out, what I like, what I don't like, what I stand for, and not like what somebody else has told me to stand for, it really hasn't been that long. So like when you put it in that like type of like point of view, I feel like it's been easier for me to have like a lot more grace with myself and a lot more like, it's okay, this is where we're at. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I mean, my 20s has been a lot of trial and error, lots of errors. But that's okay. I've honestly learned a lot about like what I like, what I don't like, what works for me, what doesn't work for me, what boundaries I need to have in place, not just with other people, but like with myself too. Like, what is it that I need to do for myself to, keep working towards my goals, to achieve the things that I want to achieve, to have the things I want to have. And, we're getting there. We're getting there slowly but surely, and sometimes also those goals will change and things pivot, and that's okay too. It's not always just on like a one trajectory of like, this is what you do and you achieve happiness. You know what I mean? Like, happiness really is like the process and the journey of getting there. And so I have been really working on just having, a good time with that, honestly. My 20s, I really have made a lot of mistakes that I am still recovering from, but honestly, like I said, I really try to live life with like no regrets, because I do think that everything happens for a reason, and I'm just really proud of like, there's no such thing as failures as long as you are learning from them. You know what I mean? And so I'm just really happy with how I've been taking these lessons, how I've been taking these things, and that I'm finally like just really like being real with myself and holding accountability. And like especially ever since I started doing this, like within the last few years, and then like, I spent a lot of like, from 27 to like 28, I would say that I really was spending a lot of time kind of, it took me a while to kind of like put the vision in place for what I wanted, and also like stop being in denial about how to get there and actually like put in that work. But I would say from like 29 to like up until now, I've really been putting a lot of those things like to action and like figuring out what the game plan is to like get myself to where I want to be. And I've seen so much progress in the last 6 to 12 months. Like, you know how like iPhone will show you like where you were like a year ago? Like, I'll see pictures of like, or videos of like where I was a year ago, And then, like, not only do I look 100% different, but like I just remember like how I felt then and there, and like where my head was at versus like where it's at now. And I'm just honestly really excited for all the progress, and I'm really just excited to see like where I can take things from here now that I've like, kind of shifted some mindsets and beliefs within myself. So, anyways, yeah, to wrap this up, I'm super excited for my 30s. We're coming in to this new decade smarter, hotter, stronger, all the good things. And I just can't wait to see what this journey has on store for me. And I can't wait to document it for y'all. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I think this video was kind of long. But yeah, anyways, till next time. Bye.